It always comes to this. More nice shit. Morning guys, back again to do another tattoo progress update today. The last video that will have went up was not really a tattoo progress update. It was still some kind of a channel update, and it could be a little while before I have an update on this sleeve. If you'll recall, the last time I spoke about this, we were planning on heading back up here and doing one more pass through all the top and the mid sections of the sleeve, where we've been hitting the bottom of the arm extensively for quite a while now. A lot of this is up to where I want it to be, particularly in here. There is still obviously some more work to be done around the wrist. We have to do the red and the tentacles on the hand and stuff, but Rick is indisposed. If you haven't watched that video, it would serve as a precursor to why there's no meaningful update on this sleeve. So, and may not be for a little while, potentially. I did have a session last week with Terry, though. We did the 3 tentacles on my stomach. We did the big green one, or like small green one, the big blue one, and the little yellow guy. And all of that's healed up now, so I'll go ahead and show that off. We had another session, obviously, but I first want to talk a little bit about the way these healed. So they look almost identical. The yellow might even be lighter than it was fresh. I wouldn't say it's brighter than it was fresh. Lighter and brighter are two different things. So the tonality of it looks almost white. So the yellow kind of did this like less gold, more like yellowy. And it's hard to even explain what I mean by that, but it has this kind of overall lightness to it. The blue, obviously the blues I found to be a bit difficult over black, but it did its trick. And then the green is very saturated too in there, so I'm happy with how all of them went, especially being a first pass. And a lot of people will tell you that, you know, these layers will get worse the more you do. They won't be able to be saturated past a certain point. And obviously things like this are proof that that is complete nonsense, right? So we did this big boy here this week, and we used all kinds of different colors for this one. My favorite color this time was we used 2 different greens for these green highlights in the suction cups everywhere, and that was so there's some down here too. That was Cool Mint Fusion mixed with Emerald Fusion, as there was no color that really kind of had that look to it. We had to mix some inks, and Terry and I kind of brainstormed on it, and yeah, I think those steal the show. That and the white is incredibly crispy in there with all that contrast. There's a bit of yellow in places in the teeth as well to kind of bring them out more. And I should say that these things stayed pretty good. The only part of this one that didn't stay very well was down here. The only tentacle that was really hard to see was this guy in here. So the rest of them should be pretty easy. The ones on my side in particular have stayed really, really well. And the next one we'll be targeting is going to be this guy here. And I'm really excited to show you guys the color palette we choose for that one. We have all of the colors already done up for all of these. And so now it's just more or less a matter of executing. So I know exactly what all of this is going to look like. And I think I won't need a full second pass, I don't believe, on any of the tentacles for the color. I should say like 7th or 8th pass, because you guys that have been watching for a while will know that these were all done in black on black more than once. We first did these in dynamic black on black, and then we later did them in Panthera black on black, and the lines and shading were done more than once for each of those things. We started out doing all the black on black work with the same black we were using to black me out. We didn't switch over till mid 2020 Panthera black. So we had all of the the tentacles and shading done already with the same black that we used for my blackout. And they were still there, but they were really faint. And so that means that with time, they would have become fainter. So it was good that we switched to using Panthera black for all of the black on black, where, as I've explained several times, and people will still ask me what black we're using, so I feel it's a good time to mention. The Panthera XXX has, and we've used Gloom and Panthera Gold as well, but black gold. But it has a different tonality than Dynamic does, so if we're talking colors, it's like the difference in orange and red, right? So it's less about light and dark, and some people will tell you, oh, it's about getting the darkest black, and I don't disagree with that idea. It's just that there are a lot of dark blacks, right? And if you saturate someone with dynamic black, and I'll put pictures of what my black looked like in here, it's black as fuck, right? Like, it's not like it's not black. It's just that when you get into like any color or any shade, like there's even different shades of white. Like right now I can see in my peripheral there are anywhere from 5 to 10 shades of white just across the room from me. You know, there's different shades of black as well. So when you have different tonalities, you can, you know, see one better against another. So again, the difference between Panthera and Dynamic is like blue black versus gray black. And neither one of them are as black as that massage table. And anyone who shows you tattoos that are, that's editing. That's not a thing that exists. This is about as black as you're ever going to have in skin. And it doesn't matter who the fuck does it. And by the way, this black was done with Panthera, and this black was done with Dynamic. And they're about the same darkness. In fact, the bats might even be darker because it was done with tighter formations. So sometimes more important than the brand of ink you're using is even the way it's put in. Lee did these bats on my eyelids with just liners. There was no room to fuck around with mags on my eyelids, really. So, and it packed it dense, and they're about as black as I think you can probably make anything. Now, again, that was done with Dynamic black, and there are some people who will tell you that Dynamic black is lighter than Panthera, and it's like, no, you got to change your thinking. People who are stuck in such binary thinking will not get anywhere. These are the same people who will be looking at their black arm, and they'll be telling you, it's already as black as it can be. How could I possibly do black on black? So they'll do white on black without the black on black. And then they'll say, I don't know why Remy's white on black tattoos look different than mine. Mine don't stay, like, they don't stay striking. They don't stay clear. And it's like, you're only doing half the work. So you need to change your thinking. Overall, everyone needs to be open to the idea that if we have different colors of red, which we clearly do, right? Part of why I stuck these bright spots and different colors of red all within one view, right? You can see at least 4 different colors of red in this one view. Snapshot of me is to show that, you know, if there are multiple different tones of red you can get, why wouldn't that be the same with black? So many people like to think that it's just, if it's black, it can't get blacker, or it can't have any other black will show on it or anything like that. But it's like, how can you have many different shades of blue, and there's at least 3 or 4 on show here, and still think that you can't do that with black? It's crazy. That thinking makes zero sense to me. It was immediately like logical to me when it was like, oh, okay, they have a different color base. Well, that makes sense. That's what will make them stay separate, right? But for some people, it's like, we're in such a strange place in the industry right now where you have people like me, psychopaths like me, talking about doing 300 layers on things, and you can always make things better. And then I get tagged in some halfwit on TikTok the other day who's saying you should never touch your tattoos up. This guy has 200,000 followers. He's basically telling people, I don't want to touch up your tattoos. Don't come to me for a touch. because when you touch things up, they always get worse. Like, what a reductive, stupid message. Like, I regret watching that video and knowing that there are other tattooers that think that way too. Those guys are a cancer in the industry, and we can barely get clients to come back for touch-ups and second passes on things as it is. And then we have these fucking boneheads telling people, you will fuck up your tattoo if you touch it up. It's like, no, you're lazy and you don't want to do a free touch-up. Let's be fucking real here. We do free touch-ups at the studio here for a year. The only thing we don't touch up for free is hands and fingers. And you want to know what I think? I've already said it many times, but every fucking color tattoo that's done could use a second pass and would be better for it. So do not listen to these boneheads. It is insane. And they're saying that, like, the moment you tattoo someone, they're scarred, and so any additional pass over the area will hurt more. This is just straight up nonsense. It is absolute nonsense, and most of the pain that people experience anyway is built up around like anxiety and fear beforehand. And if you go into a session and go, I remember what that felt like, it was terrible, you're setting yourself up for a worse second session, right? Like, whereas the first time you went into that, you didn't necessarily have any of that baggage. The second time, it's colored by your prior experience. So you're not actually getting an uncolored experience, right? I would even argue the first time you get something tattooed, you aren't either, because you're probably worried about what it's going to feel like, right? So much of pain is made up by our anxiety around it. Whereas I think the only way you actually know what something feels like, legitimately, and this is going to sound insane, is when you've done it over 10 times, and you've done it in different moods, and you've done it when you've had different food in you, when you've been in different shape, right? I've been thin, I've been fat, I've been fucking more muscular, and I've had the same areas tattooed in different weights and different moods. I've had them done when I've had headaches and things like this. This is how you get a round idea of how something actually feels. It's not like, oh, it's necessarily worse the second time. Let me tell you guys, the third time I had my neck blacked out, I just about couldn't do it. But now I've done so much more on my neck since then, and I can tell you that it all hurt. But for whatever reason, I don't know what kind of frame of mind I was in or where my body was at, or even could be hormonal or whatever. It could be all kinds of things. That third pass on my neck blackout, which was already probably the 10th or 11th time I've tattooed that area, it was fucking terrible. It felt like hell that day. I wasn't in it or something. And if I had have followed and thought, oh, okay, well that means that every time I get this tattooed it's going to be that bad in the future or worse, based on what these idiots are trying to tell you, I would definitely not have done a full 2 passes of black on black neck roses, and then 3 passes of white on black neck roses, and then several passes of color on black neck roses, and all this red background has been done, and all this gold and all these details added to my, like, I wouldn't have done it. If it was just going to get worse every time, I would not have done it. So that is nonsense. Like, there's no reality to that claim. All of that is bullshit we build up in our heads. For example, I'll go back down here. None of this felt good yesterday. And I knew it wouldn't feel good, but it didn't feel any worse than it did last time. In fact, it probably felt better because Terry's quicker than Rick is. So when I was working on all this with Rick, it was a slower process, right? So, but it's all 7 meg and it's all color packing, and that's all black and white on black is as well. Even though it's not color, it's still just solid saturation. This didn't feel any worse than it did last time. But it should, right? Quick note while I'm down here, this whole stretch, this part in here, this pink and orange stuff, did not take easily. It's the first time I've seen Terry have to fight to get color into me in a long time. So I am expecting that stretch in there not to be super solid. The rest of it went in really well. And I think there's enough in there that it won't be super noticeable that there was a struggle, but the color was fairly choppy going in there, and both of us made mention to the fact that it was odd. So there's probably obviously some scar tissue in there, and there's probably some amount of scar tissue in all of me. But if what some tattooers would like you to believe was true, nothing would be working on me, because I would be nothing but a solid sheet of scar tissue. And some people don't think you can even saturate scar tissue, which is obviously nonsense, because look at the state of my hand now. It's so much better than it was last time. Even if it's not perfect and may never be, it is objectively way better than it was, and there is so much scar tissue in this hand. So, for all kinds of reasons, I've disproven this bullshit, and those guys should not be listened to. They should be treated like cavemen or like tunnel dwellers and just kind of put away, right? Anyone who tells you you shouldn't get your tattoo touched up is just a lazy asshole who doesn't want to do free work. That's all there is to that. It is absolutely ridiculous message to be spreading in fucking 2024 when we know better. We know better. Oh yeah, you'll fuck up your tattoo if you touch it up. Get the fuck out of here. Do you even want to be a tattooer? Do you even care about doing this work anymore? What are you doing? Like, why are people... And the worst part is that gullible clients, the people who don't know better, will take this as sage advice and wisdom. These guys are a fucking cancer on the industry, and they should be ashamed. And I've seen more than one person say this, by the way, so... Yeah, I was a little triggered when I got tagged in that this morning. Anyway, we'll be working on the big boy, like I said, on my right side. And I'm really excited to show that one off. It's one of my more favorite tentacles for colors, and I think people are gonna be pretty stoked on that one. So I'll talk to you guys again here probably a few days. Take care.